Hey guys, welcome back. This is Kiss the Comedian. I'm back with my buddy Joshua from the rescue mission. You guys saw him in the first interview. He's back. I'm back with him today. Thank God for him today because he gave me a ride. He got a rental for the day, a couple of days, and he decided to give me a ride to the bank. But you know, this is the second interview, and I'm back with Joshua. Joshua, how you been since this first interview I saw you?
You know, every day's a blessing, and right now, my days are going so well. I'm gonna have to take a vacation just to get away from this. Anyway, yeah. I'm doing very well.
Thank you, John.
I'm just so grateful for my family, my friends that I have today, and for my health and for the sunshine, the air I breathe, and basically I'm thankful for God.
For 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So go ahead. You thankful for what?
God, Jesus Christ, for saving me. That's above all. He's all I have today. Though I have friends, but I wouldn't have anything good in my life if I didn't have him.
Amen.
So anyway, I'm gonna park right over here.
Absolutely. And my first question for the second interview, since I last time saw you, is you were married for 25 years.
Correct.
And then your wife died 2 years ago.
Correct.
How did you deal with it? How did God help you come over this? It
wasn't just my wife. My wife died, and then 4 months later, my mom died.
Oh my God.
The two most influential women in my life I lost. Well, for me it was a loss, but later it became a gain. I went to God. I spoke to him, and he spoke to me. I said, "Why? Are you punishing me? Did I do something wrong?" He said, "No, my son." He said, "Read Job. Read Job." I read it 3 times. I get it now. We're like little Jobs. You know, we win, we lose. But like I said, the battle is not between flesh and blood. And I wish people would wake up, because Jesus came here in the first place to wake us out of our darkness. But many people don't want to be awoken because they're too comfortable in their darkness. Well, that's them. When they're ready, I said, when you're ready, you come find me. You come find Steve and Joshua Aldana, and I'll tell you all about God. I'll tell you all about Jesus. I'll tell you all about the bad guy, that dark guy, the father of all lies. He tricked me. He found me when I was 14, very vulnerable, because my brother just died. My baby brother. I was a freshman at Bishop Diego, and it crushed me. But I didn't realize at that time that my brother was God's. My brother belonged to Jesus. And so I found alcohol. In finding alcohol, I found that guy. He asked me what my God promised me. I said, he didn't promise me nothing. I don't know him. I was 14. So I came to the crossroads in my life. He made me a deal. He said, you work for me, I'll give you the world. I'll give you everything your heart desires. All he wanted me to do was hurt people. But he said, not with these. You go back to prison. The tongue. See, the greatest weapon under God is your intelligence he gave you to use it positively or negatively. We're born with free will. God he won't go against free will. We were born with that. Well, my state of mind, because of drugs and alcohol, and because I was mad at the world and mad at God, and I went dark. I went so dark you couldn't see me in the dark. And then all of a sudden I woke up when I was 36 years old, found out my father was dying of cirrhosis, and I needed to make my peace with him before he died or I died. After that, I didn't care what happened to me, as long as I made peace with my father, my dad. He was always my dad. But my dad was dead man walking the day he killed his dad in 1946, he killed his father in cold blood, and he was dead man walking. There were times when as a child I said, Daddy, how's your day? He wouldn't say nothing. He'd just turn his head, look at me like this, like dark eyes. He wouldn't even say a word, just looked at me and then looked back at the news or whatever, drinking his tequila. So I ran to my mom. I said, Mom, where's Dad? She said, he's right there. You were speaking to him. He's watching the news. Mom, that's not Dad. Where's Dad? Mom, she didn't know what to say. But it took me years later to know that my family was cursed. All his brothers beat their kids and wives, and up the chain with their grandpa and so forth, up the chain. When my brothers were born, brought up to raise our own kids. We didn't hit our kids. The curse was broken right there this generation. If people only knew how only takes a little faith the size of a mustard seed, because faith without works is dead. We don't know what the day will bring, but I sure know who brings it, and it's always good, no matter what comes my way. But a lot of people get caught in their past, and the past can't hurt you unless you dwell on it, right? And my greatest problem was pride. I was too proudful. I stopped seeing my family. I didn't see my mom for 7 years while I was homeless. She thought I died, and I was going, whoa, wake up, stupid. Anyway, I finally called my sister and said, how's mom doing? She says, she thought you were dead, Steve. Anyway, Stephen's my first name. Okay. I got my dad got it from the Bible.
I was like, martyr. Joshua Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen Joshua, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, my dad gave that to me from the Bible. I said, Daddy, can you change my name? I don't want to be a martyr. But how ironic, I was the first one to die in the family at age 5. I had stage 4 cirrhosis, Hep C, and jaundice. And I didn't know much about that as a child, and I was in a lot of pain. I was yellow, green, and brown from head to toe because of the jaundice and the Hep C, and the medication they gave me wasn't strong enough, or it was too strong for my heart, and I flatlined for 6 minutes and 22 seconds. Wow. But God brought me back, so here I am. No, death did not call my name 15 times because God closed that door for death not to take me. No, that many times you're got to take it a little seriously. Hey, I must be here for a reason. Mm-hmm. People live with a lot of fears. I lived with them all my life growing up. My father was my boogeyman, and I was petrified of him growing up. And then I grew to love him when my mom said at age 7, says, you got to forgive your dad. You got to pray for him. Mom, I'm trying. Mom, but it's hard. Why did God put me in a family with a dad like this? I didn't understand as a child. And then I grew up and I realized that it was perfect. It was all meant to be. I got many siblings that turned away from my dad. They said they left. Got married at 15, 16, 17 years old just to get away from my dad, and all of a sudden my dad's alone. And I warned my father, I said, Dad, listen, you're going to be alone one day because everyone's going to leave you. And they did. He didn't heed that warning. But anyway, he was pissed, and he took it out of my mom. 1977, I was brain dead in a psychiatric hospital in San Jose, El Camino State Hospital in Mountain View, and the state came to my parents and said, Mr. O'Donnell, you owe $392,000 for your son's hospital stay. I'll tell you what, we're going to pay that bill. We're going to take your son. He's not going to wake up. He's brain dead. Well, lo and behold, I woke up 3 days later after the bill was paid, so they couldn't retract it. The bill was paid. Anyway, but I wasn't normal. My father used to tell me, son, you got to learn to control your violent temper. I said, Daddy, I got it from you, now leave me alone. I never used these on the street. Never had to, because I had a big mouth, and I knew how to use. I've been studying psychology since I was a child. My mom used to call me an elephant, and I said, Mom, why are you calling me that? Because I'm fat and chubby? No. She started crying. She said, no, because you don't forget, and you're my sponge. Oh, can I help you with the dishes, Mom? No, my son, not that type of sponge. And I realized she was right. I am greedy for one thing today, that's knowledge of life, of God, of people. I want to know, I need to know. And that's how I developed my own, I grew up myself because there was too many of us. There was 14 of us. And 2 had died in the womb, but there was 7 boys, 5 girls. I have 2 older siblings that I never met because my dad had kids before he even met my mom. And anyway, doesn't matter. 4 years ago at Goleta Beach, I said a prayer. I said, Lord Jesus, show me your way. I surrender. And he said, Stephen, come follow me. And so I'm scared. My dog was in the back seat. He witnessed everything. I hadn't shed a tear in 14 years since my daddy died in 2007. That morning, the floodgates opened, and I started crying. I was like, whoa. My dog was licking my face and said, like, telling me, don't cry, I'm here. Coco, I pushed him away. Coco, leave me alone. These are tears of joy. And that's what he told me. He says, I formed you. I redeemed you. I called you by name. You're mine. And he sent me the Holy Spirit, the ultimate gift he ever given me was himself, the Holy Spirit. Born again in fire. People talk about being in fire and spreading. Well, right now I'm a volcano, erupting. And wherever I go, they can't stop me. I don't want to be stopped. Say, my late wife tell me, she says, Steve, you're talking too much and you're scaring me. I said, listen, I lay dormant for 36 years. I only spoke when I was mad, drunk, or spoken to. But now there's no alcohol, there's no drugs, there's no excuse but to love and help, be of service. And that's who I am today. I'm a Christian on a mission. And hopefully at the end of this year, I'm headed to Lompoc Prison to become a counselor. And then the correctional facility in San Luis Obispo, and then the juvenile hall in Santa Maria to work with young boys before it's too late. Like that movie, Green Mile, when Tom Hanks said, my motto is to catch them young. Well, that's mine too. You know, when I was 8 years old, my friend, I watched a guy address the nation. He said, I have a dream that all men were created equal under God. But that was a lie. Because humanity says you're the wrong color. How can you be equal? God says you're equal, but humanity says no. Well, I had that same dream. Children, you know, they grow up and they say, why? You know, children dream of things that never, children dream of things and they say, why? Well, I dreamed of things that never were and say, why not? Well, you know, later on, John F. Kennedy said those same words. You know, Martin Luther King was a brilliant man of God, and they killed him. Malcolm X, they killed him. They're just peacemakers, trying to get their people to be aware, but also too is that you can't just lay down and let them use you as a floor mat, like they did Jesus. But Jesus, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Well, I have 4 cheeks, and I would turn every one. And after the 5th one, well, then maybe I strike back a little bit. I'm human, sorry. But I lived many years on the streets, not knowing what was going to happen to me. And I never knew how much I needed Jesus until he was all I had out there. I had no friends. I had a lot of acquaintances, but no friends. I had a good job. I was a plasterer for 55 years. Couldn't save a dime. I pissed it all away. Drinking and using and maxing out my credit cards, trying to buy my friendship in the beginning. And then when it came down to, when I was down and out, no one came to my aid to get me a drink. Came to a stop. I said, I'm done with that. No more buying people's drinks. But I was in prison for 64 years. 64 years of trials was enough for me. I had a syringe. February 2nd, 2021, I had a syringe of my wife's insulin on my lap. If God didn't hear my prayer that morning, I would have put myself to sleep. So I said. But my dog was in the back seat. I couldn't do it because something would happen to my dog. Who would take care of my dog, Coco? And so, no, I couldn't do it, but he did. He brought heaven to fight for me and my wife. But Satan, that son of a, excuse me, he warned me. You're with Jesus now, but I'm going to come after your wife and your loved ones. I thought I had more time. I really did. I didn't think I had this less of time. But what is time? Well, God's timing is different than ours. Everything we do in life echoes into eternity. I saw that from my movie Gladiator. He said this statement: everything we do in life echoes into eternity. We have to make those examples positive for the ones to follow after us, our children. We're going to be in trouble. The ones who are going to be running this country. You know, if the parents are lost, the children are going to be lost. And if the children are going to be lost, this country is going to be lost. Who's going to recover? Well, we face alcoholism, the most powerful disease known to mankind. People say, why? Because it's cunning, baffling, powerful. It's controlled by an evil entity. And that guy I worked for 22 years. I served him for 22 years. I know all his schemes. That's why he was pissed at me. I was the first one in my family to outrun him. Because through the logs in my eyes, I saw a glimmer of light. I asked, what's that light up there? He said, you don't want to go there. I said, yes, I do, and you can't stop me. Yeah, I found the light. Through the logs of my eyes, I knew there was something about that light, so I outran the devil to get to it, and that's when he warned me. He's coming after my family and my friends, and if you attack a man's heart, that's how you kill a man. Words. I heard so many people, my family, that once those words come out, you can't take them back. And people react different. Some people say, well, that's a bunch of shit. Other people take it really seriously, and how much damage you can do to attacking a woman's heart or a man's heart. But today, it's not about me. It's about what he's called me to do. My life was a chaotic nightmare with my father. He didn't know how to raise children. All his brothers, you know, like I said, beat on their wives and kids, and it was non-stop. And at 14, I challenged my dad. I was a freshman at Bishop Jaeger when my brother died. I stole a bottle of his tequila, and I got lit, and I said, Dad, I want to meet you in the backyard. I couldn't get a lick in, my dad. He tore me up. I had to back off. Okay, Dad, I have enough. I get it. But one day, Daddy, I'm going to be bigger and stronger than you. I'm coming to get you. I told him that. I warned him. When I got out of the hospital, but I was 130 pounds lighter. I lost 130 pounds of body weight. But I got my weight back very quickly. In 6 months, I was over 200 pounds. And I ate everything. I warned my mom. I said, Mom, I can't come home. She cried on my shoulder. Said, why can't you come home? I warned Dad. I'm going to hurt Dad. If I hurt Dad, I'm going to hurt you and my baby sisters. If I hurt Dad, who's going to take care of you? She didn't understand that. See, I never told my mom I was coming after my father when I was 14. All I knew is that I was a child with an amputated spirit, amputated soul. There's no prosthetic to fix that ever. Children grow up angry, wanting people to hurt the way they're hurting, and it's non-stop until they're dead or in prison. Eventually they'll die in prison. But God blessed me as a child. My mom was right. That prophecy my mom told me about God calling me to carry the good news, and I will continue. I have lots to share. When I was 16, I told my mom, I'm going to write a book, Mom. She said, write it. Mom, I can't write it. I can't have you read this book, Mom, and have you relive all that stuff you went through with Dad. I can't. And I said, God, please don't take my mom, because I got plenty of time to write this book. My mom was my prayer warrior as my older sister, and my grandma, her mom. And anyway, I hate alcohol with a passion. I stay away from it, and I try to encourage people, suggest to people, stay away from it. it will destroy everything around you. Alcoholism destroyed my family to the core to this very day. You see, alcoholism and child abuse and molestation was in a closet when I grew up. It wasn't spoken. Everybody drank. Parents beat on their kids. That was discipline. Nowadays, it's different. It's not. But kids get away today with so much. All I got to do is call the law, have someone beat on them, right? Call the law and say, oh, my dad and mom, they beat on me. And they'll put them in jail. And then they got freedom to do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. I said, you want to discipline your parents. Some parents need discipline. You can do it without hurting them. And it will be very good for you too. You do the best you can of what God has given you. You live under their roof. You abide by their rules. Curfews, doing your homework, helping out with the chores. Don't talk back like you've been. They'll come, your parents will come and talk to each other and they say, wow, what happened to our son and daughter? Remember when they used to call me the F word and all this? And now they're very respectful. Honey, I think we should help them do something. Let's reward them. That's what the parents will do for you. And even your friends will look at you differently. Some will say, well, you're, don't listen to that. Because you'll know who your true friends are. Your true friends will say, that's the right thing to do. As it says, honor your father and your mother always in the Bible, the Ten Commandments. And I do. And I try to encourage people to do. To live a longer life, honor your mother and your father always. They don't always make the best decisions for your life, but they do the best they can of what they have to teach you. And the rest is up to you to learn when you grow up. See, we're all on this journey, spiritual journey. Many of us, should I say. Not all of us. God will leave little inklings, little gold nuggets. Gather those gold nuggets and share them with your family, your friends, and the needy. Anyway, I have much more, but I went to 14 churches here in Santa Barbara County to testify. I only found 2 churches that accept my testimony. Tip of the iceberg. But I've shared more with you in these 2 interviews than I did in those churches, because when I got sober in 94, Jesus warned me. He said, they're going to shun you when you speak my name. I didn't heed that warning. I shared with them, Jesus Christ is my sponsor, don't leave me alone. He gave me the tools. I'm not drinking. I am not an alcoholic addict anymore. I was a walking, talking, breathing character defect. That's what I was when I walked through the doors of the Lama Club, April 4th, 1994, 92 days sober. That's who I was, a walking, talking, breathing character defect. For 28 years in the program, not one person shared a cup of coffee with me outside the program to share my experience, faith, and hopes. I took on 12 sponsors in the first month, one for every step of the program. Not even them. I realized I scared them. How can a guy come from the street get sober? I said, listen, you're talking about divine intervention, direct divine intervention. You got sober in the program through divine intervention, but mine was more direct. You know, he sent me here to give you a message, but you guys weren't ready, so it was not your fault. It was my fault for pushing that issue of the resentment I had. On the 29th year, I gave a lady a ride home from the Alano Club, Terry, and she invited me for a cup of coffee. We spoke for 3 hours. Wiped that whole 28-year resentment. It was God sent. It was like, wow, Lord, thank you. I didn't know how to get rid of it. Because I was hardly like, what's wrong with me? Why don't they want to go out and have a cup of coffee with me? So, do I stink? Well, yeah, I only showered once a month at Ledbetter Beach in those cold showers. I didn't have a home. I lost my home. I lost everything. More so, I lost my children. My greatest asset were my children. I haven't seen in 32 years. That was killing me. That was But I said, Lord, can you help me? I want to see my kids before I die. He said, that will happen. And I trust God, but it's in my timing, not yours. My ex-wife called me after 30 years, and she said, they're not ready yet. I said, Denise, when will they be ready? I don't know when God's going to call me home, but I have 2 amends to make to complete my program. They say you can never have a perfect program in Alcoholics Anonymous. I do. I'm not perfect, but I have a perfect program because I followed what God called me to do. Pray, be of service. I've been a counselor now for 32 years. Motivational speaker, 32 years, 4 years as a Christian psychologist. And I'm very good at what I say and do and speak, and because I listen, I pay attention, and I exclude no one. Everyone is included. Because even the dull and ignorant, they too have their story. I listen. I started in 2 weeks into sobriety in '94 in Santa Barbara County, meeting the drunks and alcoholics out there on the street. They were blown away.